Hey guys, I'm the teen here. Long time no talk. I've got a couple of short videos I need to upload, now that I think of it. Oops, my dog just fell off. Oh, you jumped up on your own. Good dog. Not the best place to start a video. Yeah, I'm just gonna go, I guess this is gonna be a life update video. Right now I'm gonna go swing by a school I used to work at and see if they need me. They've actually called me once or twice in the past asking if I'd go back, and I said no. So I'm gonna go swing by and see if they have some hours for me. Thanks to COVID, my whole tourism thing is dead in the water. Nobody can enter Taiwan. You can enter Taiwan. Oh, I get it. You can enter Taiwan, but you have to do a 2-week quarantine when you get here, which means you have to pay out of pocket to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks straight before you're allowed to leave and explore the country. So if you're someone with money and you've got a few months, a month, well, I would say 2 months. If you got 2 months to kill, sure, you could still come to Taiwan and do a great tour with me. You just got to relax in a hotel for 2 weeks, which isn't that bad. Yeah, just bring a computer and holy cow, this is like riding in a hurricane. I've noticed from experience that the wind noise is always way worse for me than it is for you guys, but I'm guessing this is bad enough that you guys can actually hear this too. Sometimes I stop talking because of wind noise, and then later when reviewing the video, there actually isn't any in the video. But this is ridiculous, come on. So I'm trying to I need some more teaching hours. I haven't been riding much recently, which is a new experience for me. I've just been going to work. I use the scooter to commute, or my motorcycle just to commute to work and back and forth. But I've been spending more time with my girlfriend and more time with my son and my girlfriend together, so I need a car for that. So we've been, on the weekends generally, and on days when I don't work, we're traveling in the car. What are some topics? Trump, Biden. To be honest, I don't have much of an opinion on that. Only thing I can say is Biden's been in politics for 47 years. He's literally he's past the age where they force CEOs to retire, because it doesn't make sense for a company to trust their well-being in the hands of someone who's full-on elderly. Speaking as a middle-aged person, your brain does decline with age. It's a given fact. You give someone a test when they're 20 and the exact same test when they're 40, they're going to do worse on the test. So the older you get, the more of your intelligence you lose to some degree. It might not necessarily be intelligence that you lose, but the speed and clarity of thought. Yeah. So, why is it like a law that people over a certain age can't run a company, but it's perfectly okay for them to run the most powerful nation on the planet Earth? Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. But, Trump's not much of a better choice either, so it's a bowl of shit in one hand and a plate of shit in the other. It's you're not going to win either way. What else? The whole China thing. China seems to really want to drop a bomb on Taiwan recently. But then again, this has been often, like, I get messages from people. They're like, "Oh, aren't you scared living in Taiwan, a country that might go to war at any minute?" And it might go to war any minute for the last, I think, 109 years. That's how long it's been since Taiwan separated from China, and China's been threatening to attack Taiwan. 110 years. And then recently there was some YouTube idiot, I forget his name, but he made a video on why Taiwan isn't a country, no matter how hard you wish that it was. Like, and it's so funny because he starts the video off with 5 like facts. He goes, these are the 5 main points why Taiwan isn't a country. Point number 1, there's only one China. Okay, that's not a fact. That's not a point. That's not that's not a measurable, discernible. That's not a law. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a thing. That's like me saying there's only one England, and therefore, according to that, Canada and America aren't countries, because originally America and Canada were British colonies. You know, and then there was a civil war, and America split from England, and now America is its own country. That's the exact same thing that happened with Taiwan and China. And then the guy goes on to say, he talks about the controllers, the government of Taiwan, as being rebels that have, like, you know, like, it's like, okay, the government of Taiwan was the original government of China, and the way that they got pushed out of China was because when China was at war with Japan, the communists hid and didn't help. You know, while the communists had their own kind of rebel army, terrorist army, and while China was fighting Japan in a war, the communist army hid. And then when the war was over and the Chinese government was weakened, then the rebels came out of their hiding spots and took over China, forcing the proper Chinese government to flee to Taiwan. And then here's the crazy thing: for the next like 10 years, 20 years or something, America recognized Taiwan as the true China, and they didn't recognize mainland China as a country. So for a while, China was the one that wasn't a country, because the correct government of China had moved over to a neighboring island. Yeah. So and then it was only through like bribes and money and whatnot and the purchasing power of China that America, you know, I think there was like 10 years where America only recognized Taiwan as a country and not China. And then there was a period where they recognized both. And then finally they had to switch over to just recognizing China, because China was pouring bribes into America. And I think if you Google it, China owns something like 10% of America at this point. They've poured so much money into the country, buying land and buying this and buying whatever they could. Another interesting thing about that is, you know, China owns like 10-15% of America, but how much of China does America own? And the answer, of course, is 0%, because the Chinese government is smart enough not to let any outside countries or even people buy land within China. Actually, I don't think China lets Chinese people buy land within China. What do I mean by that? I mean, there's an interesting thing where in China, if you buy a house, you're not buying it outright. You can only buy it for a certain amount of time, because all land belongs, because they're communists, so all land belongs to the government. It cannot belong to an individual. It belongs, all land and belongs to the people as a whole. It can't belong to an individual. So when you buy a home, you're buying it for 50 or 100 years. And the price difference isn't big between the two, so generally when people buy a home in China, it's for 100 years. And this rule started about 100 years ago. So what's happening now is there's like people, younger generations, who their parents have died and their grandparents have died, and all of a sudden one day the government knocks on the door and they're like, yeah, this house that you've lived in for the last 150 years, it's ours now. And they're like, what do you mean? It's always been in our house. Well, yeah, it's been in your house for, the house could have been in their family for 300 years. But the rule of only being able to own property for 100 years only came into effect about 100 years back. So that means a house that they've lived in for 300 years, all of a sudden they get a knock on the door. But of course, I'm sure the government has some kind of rule where they get have an option to extend their lease. They can extend their purchase on their house. They're not going to just take it away and sell it. But then again, if the government wanted to, build a new neighborhood or some government building in that area, they very well could. They could just knock on the door and say, okay, you guys need to move out. Your 100-year lease that you started 100 years ago has expired, so we're going to need you to move out because we're going to build a university. What? Okay, you're on the wrong side of the road, lady. Yeah, So yeah, I don't know, there's a couple of interesting topics. I'll probably just name this video something to do with the One China thing, and we'll leave it at that. Yeah, it's saying Taiwan isn't a country and saying Taiwan belongs to China is exactly the same as saying that America isn't a country and America belongs to England, because it was the same situation. In both cases, you had a civil war and the country, a province or whatever, broke away from the original, and then it became a country within its own rights. And Taiwan's been a country for 110 years. Like, yeah, if it happened like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, then maybe an argument could be made. But it's been 110 years or more that Taiwan's been its own country. And America hasn't been a country for much longer. I think America's been a country for like, I don't know, what is it? It's over 200 years, but less than 300. I'm guessing it's between 200 and 300 years, and that's not that long in the grand scheme of things. So yeah. Anyways, that's my view on the whole One China thing.